welcome back to the Vise Squad. My name is Tiff. You can find me at South Dakota Fly Girl on Instagram and Facebook. I'd love to see you guys over there. Today this episode is sponsored by Andromedus Fly Company. You can find them on Instagram, or we will drop a link of where you can find their actual webpage. They make some awesome fly tying tools, so definitely check them out. So today on this Vise Squad episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how to tie a really super simple jig style Frenchie. Now, this is a very common pattern. If you look it up, you're gonna probably find 20 different variations. A more classic Frenchie, is normally tied with like a muskrat gray pheasant tail for the body, and then like coq de leon for the tail. Coq de leon is a little bit stiffer than what we're going to be using today, but when I sat down and thought, man, what can I tie for everybody this episode? I just thought, man, I'm just going to grab stuff on my desk that I can tie an effective fly with that most people are going to have sitting around, and you aren't going to have to make a trip to your local fly shop to get it done. So we will go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be using a size 12 hook. And these are jig hooks. Now, I normally fish these more in like a 14 and 16 in my area, but I'm just tying it on a size 12 today so that maybe you guys can see a little bit more of the detail and what's going on. So as I stated, this is a jig style hook, and if you're not familiar with jig hooks, they are essentially just have a bend to them. And what that allows to happen is it allows your bead to kind of fall into that slot. Now, I am using slotted tungsten beads, and I'm going to try to show you guys here between my little sausage fingers what a slotted bead is. So on this side you have your smaller part, and that part is what you're going to want to run here. You're not going to want to start it here where the slotted part is, because you want that slotted part on the back. Another thing you'll need to watch when you're tying is sometimes these can turn, if I can get it to do it here. And it will sit like that, and you can literally tie it. It kind of flops there, but you can literally tie it and not have that bead actually slotted down in there. And I mean, you can still fish it, but it's not going to do what you want it to do. So, and essentially what you want this to do, because you have a heavy bead here, is once we get it all tied up and you're fishing it, it's going to fish in the water like that. That weight is going to pull it down, and it's going to turn your fly. So as I stated, this is a tungsten bead, so we do have some weight there. But the whole premise of this particular tie on a jig hook is to get it down and down as fast as you can. So I do like to add a little bit of lead wire. Do make sure that wherever you're particularly fishing at, that you're allowed to actually use lead in your fly tying or your product. So on this particular fly, I do like to put the 0.20 on, but you know what? If you only have 0.15, use it. If you have 0.25, use it. Don't stress out about it. Obviously, as the smaller hooks I use, the smaller lead diameter I use, but on this one, I do like to just use the 0.20. So we'll go ahead and get a piece of that here. And on this fly, I like to do about 6 wraps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're going to push that all the way to the front. And the front part you usually can just spin off. Back part, not as easy to do that. So I just use my scissors like I probably shouldn't, and just snip that off. Now, some people will take hemostats and come in and literally cramp it like this way, and it allows you to kind of slide that in to that slot of your bead. I personally don't stress out about it. So our next material we're going to put on is our thread, and hopefully that light isn't blowing it out too much for you. I'm using kind of a burnt orange, only because I like to put like a little bit of a burnt orange hot spot on the front, but you can use just about any color because you're not going to see it. And I use, like, I think this is a 70, so you don't need a super tough thread. So we'll go ahead and get that part started. I do start just right behind that wire, make a few wraps. Trim that off. And you do kind of want a taper. So what I do is I will spin my thread to kind of open up those fibers. So if you've never done that before, and it really didn't dawn on me until I really started watching fly tying videos, sometimes it's nice to open up those fibers, so as it's laying down it kind of opens up. And if you need more of a tight thread, go ahead and just spin it. I might be saying this wrong, guys, but I think it's clockwise to tighten up the thread, counterclockwise to open it up. So just a little tidbit there. So we will go ahead and make some wraps over this lead. And then as you can see, it's not going anywhere. So, and as I stated, this fly does have a little bit of a taper, so we're just going to go ahead and build that up. All right, guys, and that's good. I mean, you don't have to get absolutely crazy about it because we will be wrapping a body over it. So no stresses there. The next thing we're going to add to this fly is going to be some wire for our segmenting, and also we're using pheasant tail, and pheasant tail is, isn't a super strong material, so your segmenting is going to kind of help your fly stay together with all them little trout teethers. And that's a technical word, teethers. Kind of getting in there and messing things up. So on this particular fly, I'm using gold, but a lot of people will use copper. And you know what? Play with it. If you want to put a different color ribbing on it, or you don't have copper or gold, just run with it. I'm using medium on this one just because it is a bigger fly. Obviously, as you get down to your 14s, 16s, even 18s, you're going to want to go with a smaller, like a micro. So what I do is I take the front of it and I just jam it right there in the slot of the bead, and then just run up, and I try to keep it running on the top, but again, it's not a big deal if it slides to the side. And then we're going to take this all the way back, and I like to go a little past where the point is on these flies. I think I'm going to go one more back. All right. All right, guys, so what we're going to add next is going to be our pheasant tail, and I'm just using your basic pheasant tail, nothing fancy. So on a pheasant tail, as you get closer to the top of the tail, the fibers get shorter, obviously, and they get a little bit more stiff. So I like to use the longer ones. This poor guy's seen better days, but like longer ones down here. And on this fly, I'm going to use between 6 to 8. You don't have to sit and count them all. I probably will sit here and count them all because that's just me. But you just want a good bunch for the tail, and we are going to use our pheasant tail also for our body. So you're going to want to make sure you got, a good fair amount. And obviously, as you tie smaller ones, you'll need less. So okay, so I do try to make sure the best that I can that my ends are somewhat in line. Bear with me here. Kind of like stacking deer hair, but you don't have to go to that extent. I've got a couple that are sticking out here, but you're totally fine. Don't stress out about it. So as far as length, I usually try to go about the length of the top of my hook, but personal preferences. Now when tying this in, I suggest going ahead and clamping down on it with your fingers and kind of guesstimating, and then taking a few loose wraps and then positioning. Now see, to me this is a little bit too long, which is totally fine. I can, before I do this, I'll kind of explain. I gave myself more here than I did less because I can always pull fibers this way. I can't pull these this way without usually making a hot mess. So when you're tying them in, you know, give yourself a little bit of wiggle room here. And, you know, then in turn you can kind of gauge what you want. So, and that's about good for where I would take it. So then just kind of hold them there so they don't slide on you. Give it a few tight wraps. And then you're going to pull all your fibers up and just make wraps to the front. Okay, so now we've got our, can't talk today, guys, our pheasant tail. And so instead of just taking it like this and just starting to wrap it, and you can see that the fibers are just kind of there, I do like to, as I'm wrapping, kind of give it a little twist. And as I'm twisting it, it kind of keeps the body together. And just start moving forward. Now, I've got smaller fingers, obviously, because I'm a lady, but, you know, if you're having a hard time, like, getting, you know, wrapping this through and grabbing it, go ahead and take this finger and just put it on there and allow it to kind of push those fibers forward. And then, let's see, let's twist and do the same thing. And I like to leave a little bit of room at the front because we are going to be putting some dubbing on here. I've got one loose goose here. And nothing's ever going to be perfect. I refuse to stop my videos if something slips, because I just want you guys to know that, you know, it's not always perfect. So, all right, so as you can see, I had one little thread, not thread, but piece of my rooster tail come undone, and that's okay. We're just gonna go in here and trim these pieces off. And I'm just gonna make some wraps there, just to kind of cinch everything down. So, okay, so we're about 80% done with this fly. So the next thing you're going to do is take your ribbing or wire material, and you're just going to make some segmented wraps. I'm going to go this way because my tail wants to catch that way. So, and as I'm doing this, I do kind of like to wiggle it a little bit, just to kind of bury it in those fibers. And once I get to the front, I will just pull it forward, make some wraps around it. Now, all these other awesome fly tyers that I watch, they can whirly bird this and it comes right off. I will be sitting here for 5 minutes trying to whirly it off. So I'm going to be horrible and use my scissors and just cut it off. All right, guys. So our last step actually is just putting a, grab it here. I call it like a hot spot on the front. You know, these are traditionally usually tied more in like a shrimp pink color. Here in South Dakota, it seems like oranges and like pinks and like hot pinks really seem to get our fish going. So, but you know what? Again, like I said, it's your fly. Like, do what you want with it. Hopefully this doesn't blow out. You can see all these awesome colors just in one little palette here. I'm gonna set it back here so maybe you guys can see. I have tied them in this color and have had really good success. This color, this one doesn't have a real like hot pink, but like this peach color. And today I am tying it in this almost like burnt orange color. So you don't need a lot. I would suggest anybody putting dubbing on is start with less because you can always add. It's usually a pain in the rear to try to take away from it. So I usually do less. Less is more sometimes. We're just going to make a wrap. And I actually think that's just enough. Now, you could leave these scragglies. I'll probably trim them up a little bit. And guys, the fly is about done. We're gonna put some whip finishes in here. And this is where I kind of put the hot spot. I just whip finish a little bit more than 2 or 3 turns. Okay, crank down on that. Like I said, these little ones, you know, and if you like a fly that's a little bit more scraggly, you can leave it. You can even brush that dubbing out a little bit. Just be careful on this, on the actual part of the fly. So, all right, guys, and there is just a super simple jig hook Frenchie. And again, it's weighted. You can tie these in 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s. I mean, if you want to get super ambitious and tie them in an 18, have at it. Some people will use like a gold head or a copper head. I kind of like more of matted. I have quite a few different matted heads. So it just really is up to you. And it's a super simple fly. And you can make it your own, or you can make it exactly like a Frenchie normally is tied. So I want to thank you all very much for stopping by and watching my video today. I hope you all enjoyed spending a little time with me. I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas, so please drop them in the comment section below. Good, bad, you're not going to hurt my feelings. If there's something you want me to change in my way of tying, or any suggestions, by all means, please don't hesitate to leave a comment. Please also give this video a like, and if you don't already subscribe, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, so that will allow you to see what we're posting on our channels. And don't forget to smash the reminder bell. That will help you get notifications of when new content drops, you know, when our tying videos drop. So if you are in the market for some gear, though, you guys should head over to fishingandoutdoors.ca for my Canadian friends, and fishingandoutdoors.net for my fellow US friends. I'll be back to hang out with you guys and gals every Monday with a new fly tying segment. But in the meantime, you can always check out my fellow Fly Squad tyers, Ryan and Justin, tying up some phenomenal fly patterns. I cannot wait to get to their caliber. So I thank you again, and I will see you guys all next week. Tight lines, my friends.